What up, everybody? This is Dario Hunt from Live Life Fearless. Welcome back to another Viewless Show podcast. Today's date is January 23rd, 2019. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Reese Walker. Say what up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fearless Show. Welcome back to 2019. We got a new guest with us. Dario, please introduce.
Our special guest joining us today is Steven Silver. He is a writer for us who has written a lot of really, cornerstone pieces for us that have been, heavily talked about throughout the, Facebook and our website. And
there's a lot of engagement with your work, so it's actually really cool to finally talk to you about it and just
thank you.
In general.
Thank you, and I appreciate you bringing me on the show.
Definitely.
Yeah. So if you want to, I kind of gave you a small intro, but if you want to kind of intro yourself again and tell people where they can find you normally.
Sure. Well, I am a journalist and film critic in Philadelphia. I live outside Philadelphia, and I write about film, I write about culture, I write about technology, I write about sports, and kind of all the ways those different things intersect with each other. I write for your site in addition to some sites in Philly Voice, Philadelphia Weekly, a site called Broad Street Review. I write for a news service called the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. And a site called Splice Today, where you can find most of my movie reviews. And for Dario's site, I do a lot of essays, a lot about film, a lot about pop culture and things like that. I wrote about the year's best documentaries a couple weeks ago. I wrote a piece about all the stuff Louis C.K. and comedy and all the things that are going on with that. So I'm happy to be here to talk about the Oscars and other stuff as well. So.
Yes, yeah. He's been a guest on our show before. It's probably been almost a year ago now. The first time you were on here. So it's good to have you back on here again. And we're going to be talking about, a lot of Oscars and movie stuff in particular. Yep. But before we get into everything, we definitely want to talk about some of, some news and stuff that's happening around the culture, some stuff that I pulled off around the web. So to kick things off, so I know you've written a lot about like Louis C.K. and a lot of other, like Kevin Spacey and a lot of other people who, particularly in Hollywood, that are going through, a lot of these allegations, true and otherwise, or whatnot, and they're dealing with a lot of stuff. And I guess recently, Bryan Singer is also going through this, and I guess The Atlantic has written some sort of expose about him. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to read the piece yet. It published this morning. I didn't get a chance to read it yet, but I know that this piece was in the works for a long time. It was rumored for a while. I think like last fall, it was rumored that Esquire was working on a big piece about Bryan Singer, kind of in the tradition of a lot of the Harvey Weinstein stuff, where they were gonna have a big story with a lot of accusers, including people we haven't heard about before, against Bryan Singer. Now, I should mention Bryan Singer, the director of Bohemian Rhapsody, in addition to such past films as The Usual Suspects, several movies in the X-Men series. Yep. He directed the Superman movie, and the one, not the recent ones, the Superman Returns, which is the one in, I want to say it was like 2006 around then. So he's been a pretty major director for a long time, and this stuff about him has kind of been out there for a very long time. There have been lawsuits really going back to the late 90s against him. Producers have sued him. There's been various articles written about it, but he's never been arrested or convicted of a crime, and he's never nothing's really stuck, I guess would be the best way to describe it. I mean, there was one time when sued him alleging misconduct against, I think, a boy who was underage, and it ended up with the boy basically withdrawing the accusation and apologizing to him. Now, I don't know. I apologize. I've not read the piece yet, so I'm not sure if that's addressed in there or not. Basically, like, this story's been out there for a long time, and the stuff he's accused of, there's a continuum of, with Me Too and a lot of the people who've been accused of things, there's a continuum of how bad it is. If you might say R. Kelly or Harvey Weinstein or someone like that would be on the end of the worst. And this is pretty close to that, I think. I mean, it's non-consensual sex with people who are underage. I mean, that's this isn't the kind of thing where he's probably ever. I would imagine his career is probably over unless he's somehow completely exonerated, but I can't see that happening necessarily. And as we saw with R. Kelly, I imagine there might be some like law enforcement investigations coming out of this as well. So, and you might have noticed in the Golden Globes when Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Picture in the Golden Globes, Bryan Singer was not there, and he was.
I did notice that.
No one mentioned his name from the stage.
His name was basically wiped from memory for that movie.
Exactly. Yes, I think he did.
Yeah.
Now he was fired from the movie a few weeks before it was done being produced, although he was still the credited director. So if you look at the credits of the movie, it's directed by Bryan Singer. So yeah, I mean this, and then the part about this was that this story was originally written at Esquire, and the two writers who wrote it are Esquire staffers. However, I think they had a brief statement which said that Esquire's editors and lawyers signed off on everything, but someone in the corporate structure of Hearst, the company that owns it, had killed the story, so they were allowed to take it to the Atlantic, and that's who published it. So,
yeah, so I don't mean he's definitely a prolific, person in film. You always see his name attached to a lot of the movies that we kind of love growing up. So to see all this, you definitely heard his name along with Me Too, because I remember hearing it back when Me Too kind of first jumped off. A lot of people were mentioning his name as well, and I guess nothing's really happened to him thus far.
Right.
But
yeah.
A piece like this, I mean, it's kind of hard now. It's kind of with the R. Kelly documentary. His name's been heard around for 20 plus years, but now that the documentary came out, I feel like there's like momentum now to actually do something.
Right. Well, the R. Kelly one, it could just kind of gathered everything in one place, and it actually put people on camera. I think that's kind of why it was. It was such. It was that was a big deal, and that was, if you were on Twitter, if you talk to people, like, that was a big deal. A lot of people were watching that, and that was I mean, the stuff about R. Kelly. I mean, that tape. I think that was like 2002, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was out there, and that was everyone has seen it. It was sold on street corners. Like, people had seen it, and they knew what was going on all the way there. And he continued to make music, and I think some people, a lot with some of these artists, they just kind of said, well, he had that trial, he didn't get convicted, and I can separate the art from the artist, or there's various rationalizations you can make. That's starting to be a thing in the past now.
I mean, he definitely had a large string of hits right after that, so that kind of, helps people put that out of their mind. But even before that, he was like married Aaliyah, and so there's been stories about him like way before that.
Yeah.
That's kind of insane. And then,
even that whole Aaliyah thing kind of did a lot of damage in the music industry behind the scenes. Like, if we had Twitter back then, we would have known about it all, but like we just didn't have the social media.
But it never stopped people from working with them.
Yeah,
that's the thing about me. Like, even with Bryan Singer, I didn't feel like
themselves at this point. So
yeah, even with Bryan Singer, I felt like it didn't really stop people from still hiring them to do their movies.
Yeah. Well, if you look at like Usual Suspects, it's
if he doesn't,
I missed what you said. You
Oh no, you're saying like Usual Suspects? I cut out right when you said Usual Suspects. I wanted to hear what you were saying.
It's him and Kevin Spacey, who both had downfalls related to this, and I mean, that's a great movie. That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
probably
that
not
is a great movie. That is fantastic.
Another was American Beauty. I mean, that's gonna. I mean, that movie it's about to be the 20th anniversary, and I think there's gonna be a lot written about that. How it's a movie about Kevin Spacey lusting after a teenager, although it was a girl.
I remember watching that movie and feeling pretty uncomfortable about it.
Yeah,
that's wild. Wow. Wow, there's gonna be a lot about that coming out, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it was
that's crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, when his name was coming out, when Brian's name was coming out back when Weinstein was getting called out, I'm surprised he got to finish this doc with, everything he had going on.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess not doc, feature film. It's not really.
Well, Singer was, I think the story at the time was that I guess he stopped showing up to the set, and he claimed it had something to do, I think his mother was sick or something, so he had to leave England and go back to America. But and then they announced he'd been fired, but he was also like fighting with Rami Malek on the set, so there's a lot going on there. So he ended up being fired from the movie, And there were all these rumors that like something was about to drop in terms of a story about him, because this was at the time that all those other stories were happening. But I think there was a loss. Someone sued him around that time, but there wasn't a big story at any point. So, and then this other director finished the movie, and then it was just in post production, and then it came out, and it just kind of, I mean, he didn't give interviews or anything for the movie, and it just was. I mean, there were problems people had with Bohemian Rhapsody and problems I had with Bohemian Rhapsody, but like, it wasn't that high on the list. The fact that he was involved, I think people realized he was fired, and so I guess it was.
I mean, really, for me, it just really sucks that a lot of the culture and stuff and that gets created that we love so much, it turns out like all these people behind it are just such shitty people, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like, damn, I love.
Oh, I can't even love that anymore. Dang.
I mean, a lot of rock stars too. Like, if you open that kind of rooms, like every.
Are they gonna talk about that? The rock star stuff is blatant.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with that.
It's blatant. They get 16-year-olds and like their parents to sign them over so they can go on world tours and shit, and like they never got back. I mean, they might have got some backlash, but they still did it, and like it was cool.
I think the biggest fear when Me Too first came out wasn't just about the movie industry. I think it was that it was going to jump over to all these other industries like fashion and the music industry big time. But I haven't really seen it too much.
One industry where it did happen a lot was food, like restaurant, like a lot of big chefs, like Mario Batali had a bunch of accusers. I mean, that industry, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, especially these superstar chefs that are like, doing bad things too. So, and I mean, there's a little bit of it with like Wall Street, and there was a little bit of it with, you saw some in sports. I mean, it wasn't like, I think, and someone was talking about this on Twitter, how they just announced the Baseball Hall of Fame, and one of these years we're probably going to get a situation where like some star player is going to have like accusations against him, in the period between when he retires and when he's up for the Hall of Fame, and like. Kirby Puckett was my favorite athlete growing up. He had that happen where he got in the Hall of Fame, and then like within a year he got accused of some type of sexual assault. And I remember that was a horrible thing that just because this guy everybody loved who was this and Roberto Alomar, if he got accused by a bunch of women of giving them HIV. And this was in like 2010, and I think he got into the Hall of Fame after that. And I remember just not coming up at all.
I didn't even know that.
This was it's weird because it came in. It wasn't in the current era. If it happened in the current era, it would probably be a little bit different. But I remember like one woman accused him, and I think a couple years later, the woman he was married to at the time also accused him because I guess she had stood by him at the time that happened. Yeah,
that's illegal.
Here's stories.
You can't. She can't testify against her husband.
That even happened with Pete Rose last year. Like Pete Rose was in this lawsuit where I guess someone accused him of committing statutory rape, and then he gave a deposition where he's like, "Oh yeah, I slept with that girl who was 15," and that was a big deal. Yeah. I mean, Rose has had enough scandals as it is, but I remember he was supposed to be honored by the Phillies, and they canceled this because this came out. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can imagine like if they really felt like, turning over all these rocks and digging up all this past, especially back in that time period, I think like 90% of people would have a lot of allegations thrown their way and whatnot. So I'm surprised it really hasn't gotten to the level that people like really feared it would yet.
Well, that's one thing in sports. It's kind of been a pet peeve of mine. Is like people went so crazy about steroids, like. Like that guy, like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens didn't get in the Hall of Fame because they took steroids. I mean,
which is insane. Barry Bonds should, without a doubt, be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he was
Barry Bonds.
Steroids. He hit the most home runs. I mean, he was a great player.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many steroids you take. Like, go try to hit a home run after you get juiced up and see how well you do. How many times
try to hit a home run when you only get 2 pitches a game you can actually hit.
Right. Yeah. Whenever you got so angry about that, everybody's like, "Well, this is destroyed baseball's innocence." I'm like, baseball's never had innocence ever.
No. It's honestly saved baseball. I remember I got into baseball when Sammy Sosa and
baseball players have been degenerates for all. Like, if you read any memoir about any baseball player, like they were all degenerates. They're all just like the way they just they were
Their trademark is chewing tobacco. Really, like it's like,
oh yeah,
like you. That's what you remember is like them spitting
Good old
those
boys
big
thing.
old.
yeah.
I mean, for me, Barry Bonds is 1000% Hall of Fame. If he's not in the Hall of Fame, there shouldn't even be Hall of Fame. Honestly, like,
I mean, but then like I mean, but yeah, see, because now we're talking about like the right now time periods, like a similar situation with John Jones, the guy, the fighter, UFC fighter. So
Yeah.
he just got his title back, but he's got all this weird steroid, not steroid, like
fighter has a lot of issues.
weird.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to
fighter likes
A
to
professional
hurt people,
fighter has
has
issues.
issues. Come on now.
Man,
whether it's athletes or actors or musicians, it's like we want, or even politicians, like we want to think that the people we like and people we're fans of are good people, and that the people we dislike are bad people. But it doesn't always work that way. It's not that. It's never that. You know,
real.
the guy you love might be terrible, and you just don't know about it.
Well, because I was like, oh, he was gonna be my favorite of all time, and then it's like, oh, I can't even talk
Still
about
my
you
favorite of
anymore,
all
man.
time. So I mean,
you talking about
John Jones.
John Jones. I think he's the greatest fighter of
The greatest
the
fighter
UFC's
of all
history
time. So, I mean,
ever. But he just ruined. It's just hard to talk about him because he just keeps fucking shit up.
do people not love Mike Tyson still?
They love him now. He's
Mike
performed
Tyson
though.
is literally one of the worst human beings on the planet, and he'll tell you this. So I mean,
he says he doesn't like looking at his old self.
yeah, because he knows he was a terrible human being, but people were still in love with Mike Tyson and are still in love with Mike Tyson. So it's like
he's had quite a cultural rehabilitation for a convicted rapist. I mean,
unbelievable.
His conviction still stands. Never got
Yeah.
overturned or anything. I mean,
He's reformed.
Everything he did, and to see how he is now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So honestly, like people, I don't know how much they care in the future. Like I know in the moment people really care, but then it always seems to kind of, fade away in time when they start to remember all the things that they did do and like create and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I read that the Spotify streams for R. Kelly's music like skyrocketed during the documentary because it's like it's watching it, but they're like, oh, I bet a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I love his music. I haven't listened to it in a while. I'm gonna listen to his music because it was in there.
Same thing they're trying to figure out like all the clues because he left so many clues. Like all the little stuff that he would say sounded weird now. Like you would try to like figure out. You're like, oh, he's talking about somebody young there. It's so obvious. You're like, oh, that's gross.
Come on, if you try to listen to his music now, of course you're gonna be like, oh, he was a fucking pervert. But everybody knew this because the shit that you just
but you didn't. Like, but when you heard the song, you didn't think in your head at the time while the song was on that R. Kelly's writing about a 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I didn't think that he was writing about a 14-year-old. But I didn't think that this guy is a freak. Like if he's saying this stuff like in her public, I can only imagine the shit that he's really trying to do behind the scenes. So like,
yeah, that shit is scary. It makes his music kind of creepy as fuck, like scary, like like whoa.
I don't know. It's kind of like for me. It's always with these people. It's always like I always go back to like the Dave Chappelle joke with Bill Cosby and the rape joke, and he's talking about he rapes, but he saves in that whole situation where he did all this terrible shit, but then they start to think about all like the good shit he did, and it's kind of like, well, where should you fall in, in that situation? It's hard for people, and I get it. It is hard because you have a lot of memories tied to these icons basically in their fields. And I don't really know where we necessarily go from here, but it's definitely a time that I don't think we've ever seen before. So
yeah.
But we could go on the
time to tell. I'm sorry.
No, continue. You go ahead. I didn't cut you off.
Time's gonna tell a lot of this. I mean, I think I think it's going to shake out, and some of these people accused of things are going to come back. And I heard that thing about Louis C.K. And one thing I don't think I mentioned in the piece was that I feel like Louis C.K., there was a path for him to address what happened in his work and to do a stand-up special where he talked about what happened and was honest about it, self-deprecating about it, and was, found a way to do it in a way that only he can and using his talents to do it. But it doesn't look like that's the path that he chose. It looks like the path that he chose was to, change his comedy to be a bit more mean-spirited than it was. And
Yeah, I think he chose to be the bad guy instead.
Yeah. Yep.
He's like, well, fine. If you guys want me to be the bad guy, then I'm gonna really make you mad.
Yeah. Yep.
And that might be his path forward. I mean, for all I know, that's it might give him if he's a lot of people speculate that he's trying to appeal to the right wing, and that's kind of what's
they are saying that. They are saying that. I don't know how I feel about that though. I mean, I don't even know if the right wing really cares for Louis K as much as we say they do.
I don't think they care about him. I just think that they want to have somebody that they can always kind of like latch onto and fight back and push back against those, everybody else in PC.
Well, because Louis C.K. was that guy though. He was like in terms of like top comedians, Louis C.K. is definitely always in the conversation before all the controversy.
I mean, like I told you to reach another show we talked about. He'll be back. He'll have a big show. If not this year, next year for sure. And somebody will pick it up. I guarantee it.
Well, he also does that thing where he sells his specials and other things straight from his website. So he has that distribution channel. He doesn't necessarily need Netflix. Now, he won't necessarily make as much money from that than he would have if he had a Netflix deal, which he had. But I mean, I'm not going to say I wasn't a fan of his or that he wasn't talented. I mean, he would do a new hour every year, and most comedians don't do that.
No,
right?
Would do and it would be high level stuff. And he did it for HBO, and then he did Netflix. I mean, and it was good. It was almost always really good. So.
Yeah, he seems to be gearing up for that again. Honestly, I really think he's gonna try to make a big comeback soon.
Yeah,
because he's out there testing jokes, so who knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah. We saw the accidental special.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he was in San Jose the other week, doing it again. So.
Oh yeah.
Not backing down. I'll say that.
He's getting ready.
But this is a topic we could basically talk about the whole show if we wanted to, because it's never ending.
For sure.
Right.
But we're gonna move on to a few more items before we get to the Oscars. I don't know if you watch Bandersnatch, but in the news apparently they are being sued.
Oh, by Choose Your Adventure, right?
Yeah. Talking about the Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yeah, Black Mirror Bandersnatch. They're being sued for the trademark to Choose Your Own Adventure.
That's the trademark? Is it the words or the action?
I think it's the words. It wasn't necessarily clear in the article, but it says Choose Your Own Adventure and had filed a lawsuit for them. So I'm not entirely sure.
I could see that though, because Goosebumps made that.
Did they make it's ChooseCo? So maybe ChooseCo was the book. They are a book publisher, so maybe they want to be published.
Now,
the R.L. Stine.
Was it really a lawsuit, or was it like a cease and desist letter? Because
it said it's a lawsuit, but I don't know.
There's a lot of the time media coverage. It's like a strongly worded letter from a lawyer is.
That's true.
Like that happened this week with the whole thing with the Saints and the Rams, the playoff game with the bad call, where a lawyer in New Orleans who's a Saints fan threatened a lawsuit, or like, I mean, it was reported everywhere as a lawsuit, but really it was just he wrote a letter to the league saying, here's your rules, and therefore you should have another game. So the Saints have another chance. I don't think it was really a lawsuit, because the lawsuit would require, filing the actual paperwork, and I didn't see the actual paperwork.
Well, it says that they're demanding at least $25 million in damages or Netflix profits. So
that's interesting.
Well, I do know. I would imagine Netflix is probably deeper pocketed than the Choose Your Own Adventure people are.
Yeah, I would see this at most settling with like $1 million payout.
I'm not even sure if Netflix is going to settle, because they already released a letter saying that
it's a different
pushing
format
back against it, saying that they didn't. I mean, I think it's really just the words "Choose Your Own Adventure," and they're saying that they never really used it in the movie. They used it in maybe one marketing thing, but it wasn't in violation. That's what they're trying to say, it was all fair use. And so I think they're gonna probably fight it, honestly.
Yeah, I imagine they would. But I haven't gotten. I do like Black Mirror, but I haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet.
I have not either.
Actually,
pretty cool.
So my idea is I'm a movie critic, so I do pretty much all of November and December I had screeners to watch, so I was trying to catch up on all the Oscar movies. So
at
the time I watched no TV at all, and no way behind on Netflix stuff and Hulu stuff.
Yeah.
soon as the calendar rolled around, I started on catching up on all the shows I missed. So I didn't get to the Bandersnatch thing, but I'm hoping to.
Yeah. Well, it
I
kind of
think,
opened the doors for like the
yeah,
future of
it'll be an
interactive
interesting new wave
television
for sure.
or in movies. So I think that like that as an example to creatives shows a lot of, I think, visual makers like ways to like mess with storyline and like
You
story
definitely
media.
interact in a new way.
Yeah. So it's cool. But yeah, what else we got?
Next up, the Sopranos prequel that has been long rumored to be in the works. I guess they just cast the young Tony, and it is James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know anything about him as an actor. I know that
I don't know either.
So I don't know that I've seen him in anything, but yeah, that's a project I'm very much looking forward to because I love The Sopranos. I followed the it was just the 20th anniversary, so there was a lot of stuff about that. There was HBO did a ton of all the episodes, and I watched quite a bit of it. And there's a new book out actually by Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller Seitz, who are the two big TV critics who, when Sopranos started, they both wrote for the paper in New Jersey, the Star Ledger. So, and then they both went on to become very influential TV critics. So they got together and wrote a book about the Sopranos, which has basically essays about all the episodes plus like a bunch of interviews with David Chase, the creator of it. So I have the book. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm interested. It's been a while since I've seen The Sopranos, but it was obviously one of the greatest TV series ever made. But it'd be interesting to see what they choose to do with the prequel. I'm not really sure what that would even look like.
Well, I think what I've heard is that it's set in the 60s. It's about, kind of against the Newark riots of 1967, either, I don't know if it's during that or after it. And it's supposed to be kind of, there was a big theme in The Sopranos that like, it was kind of, the mafia was on the wane at this point, like it was kind of declining. And this is supposed to be about a time when the mafia was, stronger than it ended up being, at the time of The Sopranos. Although I think even The Sopranos showed the mob having a lot more power and pull than it really does, because in real life you only ever hear about those guys if they're in trial. So
yeah, basically.
Yeah,
it's true.
And so that's one thing I noticed a lot of when I used to live in New York, and it was actually around the time The Sopranos was on. Like just the way that they would talk about the mob, like you read like the New York Post or the New York Daily News, the way they would talk about the mob is like, the way they covered crime was just like, oh, criminals, they're slime, they're vermin, they're animals. The criminals they should all just throw them in jail forever, except for the mafia, because those guys are cool.
Right.
The best.
Right.
Some outro that's like, oh, the guy ratting is the big villain, but the guy, he's wearing his nice suit, and he's this guy.
Oh, it was a great way of kind of reimagining their image, in culture.
Yeah.
Instead of these cold-blooded killers and criminals, they're like a family, They're a family. That's all.
Crazy.
They just happen to do some crime on the side. Nothing, no big deal.
Right. Yeah.
But Americans, they love crime. They love that whole thing, so it only makes sense.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Did either of you guys see the John Gotti roster?
I did not. I never wanted
pretty bad.
to. It looked terrible, and I heard nothing but terrible things.
And there's basically like what I would say about that movie is that it was, a lot of people accuse like The Godfather, The Sopranos, and other things like that of glorifying the mob.
Yeah.
When, I mean, if you read between the lines enough, it really looks like these guys. It makes them look cool at times, but then it ends up being that it shows either that they're horrible people or that they suffer. Goodfellas, especially.
Yeah.
The way he ends up being a Goodfellas, and
right.
But he really did glorify the mob. Gotti was just like looking at John Gotti as this unambiguous hero who, like, they try to put him up as just like the coolest guy ever when
right.
There's really anything in the movie that backs that up. Like it keeps saying he's the greatest boss ever, but all you see in the movie is like everyone keeps betraying him, and then he goes to prison, and then he dies, and that's just about it. And then the whole point about how the government was too mean to his son, who was also a mobster, and put him in jail for ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see what David Chase does with it, because he hasn't really done much of anything at all.
No.
He made one movie about 7 or 8 years ago called Not Fade Away, which I wasn't a big fan of, but some people really liked it. It had James Gandolfini in it also, and I'm kind of interested to see what he does. I mean, he's a very talented guy, so let's see.
He's earned the right to revisit the property if he wanted to, for sure. So
yeah, but one thing, and I think I wrote this piece like when they first announced it, was don't expect to see answers of the questions you had about the Sopranos. It's not gonna wrap up whether or not Tony.
We don't even have answers how the series ended.
I mean, that's not what David Chase is as a creator. He's not about fan service. He's not about showing you got. It's not like Marvel where there's Easter eggs. Don't expect anything like that.
One of the most anger-inducing endings in any TV series you'll get.
Yeah. I hated it at the time. I've heard arguments that it actually made sense, but I don't know.
Yeah. He'll never get me to agree with that one. And then I need some closure after spending that much time on the show, But Darice, I sent you a trailer. I don't know if you watched it yet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that art movie.
I wanted to get your opinion since you are an artist about this movie called Velvet Buzzsaw that is coming out on Netflix.
Velvet Buzzsaw. So I checked out that trailer about an hour ago, and it actually looks crazy, kind of cool. Like it actually looks really interesting, but it's weird. It's crazy because you don't really get too many art horror movies often.
Do you get any?
Well, no, there's a few. Like this one reminds me of Art School Confidential.
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah. So like the trailer kind of reminded me of that sort of temperament and that sort of style. I think it could be, but except funnier. It seemed like more like a I don't know. It was like a Inglourious Bastards type of but like with just like the weird art scene, not so much war and like craziness, but like the way it was shot and like the humor of that film. I feel like is how they're gonna handle this like art horror film.
It definitely took a turn.
Art School Confidential was the scene where he walks into the art school and the beautiful woman comes up and he thinks she's gonna be the model, and then a dude takes off his thing.
Yeah. And he's like, oh man, like, and have you
went to art school and she said it was
I've actually lived in New York too. When you said New York, I'm like, I live out here in New York right now. So,
where do you live?
I live in Brooklyn right now on Bed-Stuy. Yeah, Bed-Stuy. I lived in Washington Heights when I first moved here, though.
Okay.
Sorry, folks. Little audio interruption, but
you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. For me, like talking about this movie, I thought it was literally going to go to like the high art world type of route.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
There you
go. All right, we're back. So like for me, I don't know. I just thought it was going to go kind of the pretentious art world route, with the movie, and then when it took the turn into a full-on horror, like that's when I became super interested in it, and definitely one of the most interesting trailers and concepts I've seen in a while, especially for a horror movie. And to see that it was directed by the guy who did Nightcrawler and Jake Gyllenhaal's back in it, I was really interested because I think when Nightcrawler, when Jake Gyllenhaal was basically full on kind of crazy, I think that's one of his best roles. So interested to see how this one turns out.
Yeah, I like Nightcrawler a lot. It's been I had a brief stint working in local news, and that was after I saw Nightcrawler. I've been meaning to revisit it just to see how it lined up with my experience, which I don't think. I mean, that movie was really, really cynical, and it was, I think, more cynical than, I feel like that they were more open about how sleazy and horrible they were than real life. I feel like when the station I worked at, when they were more subtle about certain impulses than they were there. I never heard someone say, "If it bleeds, it leads." It was just kind of wide. So.
I mean, it definitely did a good job of kind of making you feel like gross after watching the movie, And I like the type of movies that make you feel some type of way after you get done watching it. And that was one of those movies that really did a good job of doing that. And I mean, one of the movies was like last year for me. I don't know if did you see Hereditary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Therese about this, so that we finally got around to watching it, and that was one of the most unnerving movies. By the time you get to the end of it, that I've probably seen in a while. It wasn't even like terrifying to me, but it was just like really unnerving.
That was a movie that I didn't like that much, but I thought the director was just really talented and really able to, that's the guy who knows what he's doing, is going to probably make better movies. But I thought
right.
My problem with that movie was it took a really long time to reveal what was actually going on, and once we found out what was going on, it wasn't that. I didn't love the ending.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit straightforward at the end, more than they definitely set it up to be.
Yeah,
but it was definitely for me. It was definitely like you feel kind of uneasy after watching some of the shit that happens on screen, and it was less so the horror part and more so just everything else that was going on. But I like this movie looks like it could be like one of those that really makes you feel some type of way after you get done watching it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's actually the art looks good too. So like I'm like, okay, I'm actually interested. Like it doesn't look like trash. I actually want to look into it more to see who's like the artist on set and everything like that. Because typically they have one artist like to do all the paintings that are like in process and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Think about that for sure.
Yeah.
So that is it for news items of the past week or so. So we're going to jump right into the Oscars talk. Right off the bat, I just want to kind of ask you guys, what were some of the snubs and what were some of your surprises from the nominations this year?
You want to go first?
You go first.
I'll go first. Okay. All right. So.
Well, I'll say first off. Or no, you go ahead.
Okay.
First.
Sorry, delayed there.
Yeah, you.
So the big one for me was If Beale Street Could Talk not be nominated for Best Picture. I mean, I thought that was an amazing film that I liked more than any of the movies that were actually nominated, and I thought I could see. My favorite movie of the year overall was Sorry to Bother You, which I thought was wonderful, but I didn't have
just talking about that movie.
I didn't have a lot of expectations that would get many Oscar nominations. It's not really the Academy sort of movie. It's way too incendiary and way too extreme. Although I really love that movie. But if Beale Street Could Talk, I don't really understand the case against it. Like I don't see.
Weird. I was confused
usually, and the story's great, and it's of the moment. And Barry Jenkins, I mean, his last movie won Best Picture.
The way it's nominated is awkward to me. Like it has a supporting actress nomination, I believe. What, writing or something? I think those are the two categories. I don't know. It's kind of weird because the screenplay, the movie looked excellent, and I didn't think based on the trailer alone that I don't know, like the lead actress and just the whole setting, it seemed like more should have been like considered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. What else did you see that was like either a snub or a surprise?
Well, the other big one was in the the whole documentary category, and I'm never happy with the documentary category any year, but this year especially. I wrote a piece for the site about a month ago or not quite a month about the best documentaries of the year.
It came out the first week.
And I think the first 6 weren't nominated of my documentaries. Now some of them are sort of obscure. I didn't like Bisbee 17 was my favorite, and that barely came out, so I didn't expect that to nominate. But the Mr. Rogers documentary I thought was a slam dunk.
Oh, big snub.
And I don't know why that didn't get. I couldn't explain why it didn't. I expect that RBG will win the Best Documentary Award. It's probably the.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking, RBG for that, or Minding the Gap possibly would be a close second.
By the way, that's a really, really wonderful movie, and if you have Hulu, I think it's on there. But I mean, Shirkers, which was on Netflix, was really wonderful. I was hoping that would make it, and Three Identical Strangers, which is this excellent documentary.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like next week or very soon. I've been seeing commercials for it, and that's a really good too. Which I guess a lot of these made the short list. They didn't actually get nominated. I mean, Hail Money this evening. I was happy to see that get in because that was really a small film, but a wonderful film. It didn't really get that much release, but in there. And then some movie that made that category that we even heard of, and then I had to actually go through.
Of Fathers and Sons.
Free Solo was fine. I mean, it was pretty good. I can understand why that made in. Of Fathers and Sons, which I think is a foreign documentary, which I barely know anything about, but that I was kind of surprised to see in there too. And
I was shocked. I was like, why are they doing that? That was weird.
I mean, they keep changing the rules for documentaries, and they just still never get it right. So I don't know. So those are a couple of the big ones. A lot of people noticed, Bradley Cooper didn't get nominated for Best Director for Stars Born. He did.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And again,
that's the big.
The director of Bohemian Rhapsody did not get nominated for Best Director because we're gonna just pretend that it didn't have a director.
Yeah, he didn't. He doesn't exist anymore. Bryan Singer.
There's no director.
The Golden Globes, when no one mentioned him in their speech, he wasn't there.
No.
They kind of pretended there was a director. So
he's gonna act like he never happened.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain movies I liked. Like I really liked Annihilation. I don't think that got any nominations.
Yeah, I was surprised. I honestly thought that was getting enough buzz to kind of sneak in there like Arrival did. I don't know if you remember when Arrival got nominated. I thought it kind of had that same sort of momentum. But
Annihilation's a movie that got dumped by its distributor in February, and they didn't really mount much of an Oscar campaign for it. Sometimes you can tell with you get emails, you get screeners in the mail, and the ones you don't get, you can kind of tell the studio doesn't really care that much. So, and Annihilation was one. I think they to Netflix in every country other than, and I think it's streaming maybe on Amazon or possibly Hulu, one of those. So if you didn't see Annihilation, that's good. I remember that just when that came out, film Twitter was just all over it. There was just nonstop discussions of it, and what does this thing mean? What does that thing mean? And we didn't have enough movies like that this year. So I was happy to see Spike Lee finally get a nomination for Best Director.
Finally.
Oh man, I was like, what? I was like, I couldn't believe they did that. I was shocked. I was like, wow, they're giving him a nod.
I mean, I wouldn't say I was shocked because this was his best commercially performing movie. So
I think they only gave it to him because Jordan helped out. I feel like Jordan has pull.
I mean, it helps, and it helps that you actually sell in the box office too. Finally,
Yeah.
I mean, it can be very hard to discern the motivations of the Academy because it's thousands of people, and you don't know. People like to talk about the Academy like it's a single organism where they all feel one way or they all feel another way or they all. I mean,
there isn't a boardroom with 12 people deciding the fate of. Not just.
That's the Golden Globe. It's the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is the small group of people, and they're all easily corruptible. At least from what I've read about how the process goes, or at least. I don't think there's actual outright bribes, but I do think there's, whoever gets the most, whoever throws the best party and gives up the best swag tends to get rewarded by it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to grease the wheels a bit.
Yeah, there was a story about a month ago, I don't know if you saw this, where someone fabricated an interview with Drew Barrymore, and I think it was the in-flight magazine Egypt Air, and it was her saying all these insane things, and then they asked Drew Barrymore, and she's like, "Oh no, I never talked to these people. I don't know what this is." And it turned out the journalist who that was attributed to was the former head of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Oh, so, what?
That's crazy. And this just happened with The Rock too, where there was an interview with him where he talked about how young.
I did see that one about The Rock.
And it turned out he's that's not true. I didn't really talk to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the story of what actually happened, but that was kind of
crazy.
I mean, I don't know if his nomination is more of an accolades, finally, we're going to finally recognize you after all these years. But either way, I think it's long overdue that he finally got at least.
I mean, the movie was really good.
Yeah.
The movie was really good.
Yeah.
So.
But it's always the case where it's but this was his best movie, to me.
Oh, what'd you say?
You guys see Blind Spotting?
I did not get around to seeing
I
that.
didn't
That's
get
one I
around to
wanted
that
to, but I never got around to seeing.
That's really good, and I mean, it didn't really make much of an impact when it came out, so I didn't really expect the nominations. But I thought that was one of the better ones this year. I mean, I thought, like I said, my favorite was Sorry to Bother You. I mean, Roman, The Star Is Born, I really like a lot of the best pictures. I mean, those are the ones that I really liked a lot. I mean, I like Black Panther 2, and I like Black Klansman, and let me just look through the nominations here. The two that I really dislike are Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody. And
yeah, those are two for me that
yeah, those are interesting slides.
I didn't really understand why, why they got nominations. Because honestly, I didn't feel like Bohemian Rhapsody got a ton of critical praise, outside of, the
categories
box
are
office
strange.
success. So I'm surprised it really keeps getting
the Bohemian Rhapsody is that almost everyone I know who's a critic hated it, including me, but almost everyone I know who's not a critic loved it. Like, people went to see it.
I mean, they're
What
playing
about,
Queen. They're playing Queen. How hard is it to make a movie that
they had the advantage, some of the best music ever.
Who wouldn't like that,
And Mary Poppins got snubbed, right?
It didn't get Best Picture. I got some like technical stuff, and I think I don't think I got any acting stuff. But
she didn't.
One of the songs was nominated, and maybe I think probably costumes. And
like Best Original? Well, it better not be in Best Original because that one's obvious. I think Lady Gaga's in that category with her movie. So
I thought it was interesting that the Ballad of Buster Scruggs song was nominated.
Oh man,
that Buster Scruggs got some weird nominations that I didn't expect.
I was shocked to see their name. I was like, why is this name popping up so much now? Like,
I mean, I thought I didn't love Ballad of Buster Scruggs, but that first part I thought was great, and that's the part the song's in. So, I didn't. I confess I liked that part, but I didn't think when I heard it that song was going to be Oscar nominated. I don't know. I don't feel it was a strong year for this. There weren't that many full-on musicals this year, and there wasn't really anything that was like none of the animated movies were musicals. And the last couple of years, the best original song and the best original score have been like really hard fought. Like last year, there was Greatest Showman, and there were a couple other musicals, and I think La La Land was for that. But this year, Poppins was a musical. But so, and Star Is Born, I mean, it had original songs, but and I guess I expect that song to win. So
I mean, I guess I would have to ask you: do you think 2018 was kind of a down year for movies? Because when I think about it, 2018, I don't really think of too many big movies that pop to my head immediately, like some of the years before.
Well, I mean, I pretty much say this every year, which is that there were great movies this year if you knew where to look for them, and if you saw enough, I saw over 300 movies last year. So I think having seen everything, I saw enough things that I thought were good that I wasn't willing to write off the year as that bad. I mean, there are a lot of years where you get to like March, there's just nothing good in January, February, and then you get to March before there's anything good, and that looks like this year's going to be a year like that because I haven't seen anything good yet. Although
I feel like
both Fire Festival documentaries, and I thought they were both. But the Hulu one was better than the Netflix one, but they were.
Oh right, interesting.
So
for me, I feel like a lot of like the tentpole and blockbuster movies of last year failed. They didn't quite live up to the hype. So I think that's kind of maybe why a lot of people's opinions of the year are kind of down too, because it was more like the smaller, like you said, the smaller movies that you'd have to kind of seek out that were like the better products, and I don't think necessarily everybody got to see those,
Right. Yeah. But I mean, Black Panther was, it came out at in February, and it was, very early part of the year. But I felt like that was one that kind of checked all the boxes because it was a blockbuster and it was a superhero movie, and a lot of people saw it, and it was nominated for Oscar.
Well, that and Avengers.
It got.
Avengers getting nominations.
I was so into this year's Avengers movie. I thought it was kind of. The way it ended, it's just so obvious they're just going to undo it completely. So, and this is something that happens in a lot of superhero movies where like death is never real. Like it never matters that somebody died because they're just going to come back. And that's true in Game of Thrones. That's true in, all these comic book movies, and the Star Trek movie where Captain Kirk died at the end and then he came back 2 minutes later. I mean, this just, This keeps happening over and over.
My thing with the Avengers
Spider-Man trailer came out. It was the Spider-Man spot.
Yeah, my thing with Avengers Infinity War ending was that, people who are in the know about how like comic books work and like that stuff know that they're just gonna come right back. But what I saw with a lot of people that aren't familiar with like comic books and how they work and that whole history of death not being real, a lot of people actually were taken aback that they actually died. Like,
right.
So I mean, I can see like, especially when you're experienced and how it's gonna turn out, you feel some type of way about it. But I felt like a lot of people who weren't really that invested into it, but are aware of it because of how big it is, were still kind of surprised by the ending and the fact that they decided to end it that way.
Well, where I come at it is I never read comic books, but I've just been seeing these movies for 25 years. So I feel like I know, who most of the characters are. I mean, I have friends. I'll go to the screening of whatever the Marvel movie is, and there'll be like a when they do the post-credit thing, and some guy will show up. And my friend will just be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's him." I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. Who's he? I think when they first showed Thanos, it was like that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Easter egg
Who's
deep
that big
cuts.
blue guy?
Those are the best part when they get the real deep cuts that you have to be like a comic book nerd to like kind of get into. But I mean, for me, like with Avengers, I don't know if it got any nominations actually, but I think it should have, because the fact that they were even able to accomplish a movie like that and to be successful in the way it was is insane to me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But
it's outrageous to clash that many that many movies.
Animated character. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. So.
No. I was ending. It was
okay.
It was just crazy that all those casts of movies could clash together to make the Avengers.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you guys see Into the Spider-Verse?
I haven't yet. Not yet. But I hear nothing but good things.
Yeah, that got nominated for animated feature.
It was I saw that.
Incredibles and North Picks and Internet. I mean, there weren't that many animated movies this year again, so it's kind of like there were 5 movies that all got nominated. But our critics group, the Philadelphia Film Critics Circle, we voted, and I think the only reason Spider-Man didn't win was because we voted like a week after it came out, and not enough of us had seen it, because everyone who saw it was just like, "This is amazing. This is like."
I mean, the trailers look incredible.
Yeah,
they definitely like.
It is great, and the way they had all the different Spider-Man characters and put them all together. Man, I thought that was a better combination of characters than anything in the Avengers movie, if you ask me. And it's surprising that like Sony with their superhero movies, they made this deal to put Spider-Man in the Marvel universe, so that's under Disney now. But then they come out with Venom, which is a huge hit, which I didn't think was that good, but it did really well. And then Spider-Man was also a hit and might win the Oscar for animated feature. So
it wasn't a good movie, but it was a good Venom. That's why it's sold. That's really all people really wanted, was a good Venom, and they would go watch it in droves. That's all I wanted, and they gave us a good Venom. Not a good movie, obviously, but
it's like going to see The Hitman. We really didn't need to know everything. We just wanted to see him do his thing.
Yeah, I want to see this guy in action, like not whoever was playing him before. I think Eric from That 70s Show.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's Topher Grace. Now, did you guys see Green Book?
No, I didn't. I want to see though. It looks really good though.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan just because I thought I didn't like. I thought Viggo Mortensen was terrible in it, and he was nominated for Best Actor, and that's probably the nomination.
That was my problem. I was unsure about Viggo.
I was surprised he's a lead actor.
I really rushed to go see it. I was like, well, he looks good, but then he's the lead, so then it was confusing because I thought Mahershala.
I thought Ali was the lead.
Well, that's my big objection to the movie, because if it had been about Mahershala Ali's character, it would have been a much better movie because he was a much more interesting character. The other guy was just an idiot who. He's doing this horrible, exaggerated Italian accent, and he's just like, it's just Italian stereotypes all day long.
So the movie is about the driver?
Well, it's about, he's the protagonist of the story, and it's basically about how he starts out as this racist idiot, and then he goes on this trip story, and then it's about him learning to be less racist. That's the journey that the movie follows.
Like, pat you on the back for being less of an asshole and less racist. congratulations.
Yeah,
But,
that's basically what it is.
I mean, that's why I really didn't want to see it.
It's
Because
weird.
like, oh my god, like another one of these. Like, congratulate this guy for not being a
Yeah,
racist.
I kind of
Not
knew what
that.
I was.
It's like how many awards can we hand out for not being a racist person?
I mean,
But
that's how a lot of movies were like over the years, like like in the '80s and like.
yes, and that's really
there's a movie,
why.
there's Mississippi Burning, which was a movie about the civil rights movement, where the heroes are white FBI agents. And this was in 1988, I think. And they just decided that well, we can't really.
This is why I don't watch a lot of these new historical movies about that time period anymore, because it's always kind of like, again, then you see this again. How many times did I see the same story again? And then on top of that, apparently there was some little controversy too with the people, like his family, the guy's family, who came out and was like, the movie wasn't accurate at all, and saying that the driver really wasn't like a close friend of, the person. He was just like a driver. And like, there
were a bunch of related to that movie, which and the co-writer of the movie is the son of the real guy who was the Italian guy. So Tony Vellone was the guy. Nick Vellone.
Yeah. But the I don't know. He plays an instrument, right? Was he piano? I think.
Yeah. Shirley is the piano player.
Okay. So his family was like, they weren't these buddy like friends and great. He was just a driver, and he just happened to be black, and it was more about him, like he decided to hire this guy, whatever. But so it's just, I always feel like those movies are just super exaggerated, over exaggerated, and always never really tell an accurate story. So I kind of feel I didn't really want to watch this one.
Well, it didn't look like the filmmakers even knew that these relatives were alive and able to be.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't know that and didn't reach out.
I mean, Shirley didn't have children, so I guess they assumed that he didn't have any living relatives. But I guess his brother, nephew,
brothers, sisters, mom, family, like so.
And I guess Ali apologized to him, and he's actually very good in the movie. I don't have any complaints about his nomination or and I think editing as well. But like for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, and Viggo Mortensen, none of those were the least bit deserved, I thought. So
it just didn't seem like a movie I thought would. I mean, I wasn't surprised because it does kind of fit that category of movie that they love to promote, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to see this again.
Well, when I said in my original review, is like, in a world where Get Out exists, and Sorry to Bother You exists,
there's way more interesting movies about.
You don't need movies like it's like a movie best left in another era. And I guess
for real. You're like,
that's how I feel. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. Like. We need some new stories. There's a lot newer, better stories about race and culture and stuff, instead of just the the civil rights periods were terrible, and there were some good people there. And it's just like, all right, well, there's a lot of progress since then, and a lot of stuff since then that we can have movies about, and we are starting to have those movies about them. And I like you said, Sorry to Bother You and stuff, movies like that. I think those are big steps forward. So hopefully we kind of move away from all this historical rewriting.
What do you think about came out Spike's movie though?
And it got Black Klansman. You asking me what I thought? I didn't get your question.
Yeah. Black Klansman in terms.
I liked it, but I didn't quite find it I didn't think it was quite on the level of of Beale Street or of Sorry to Bother You, or of Wilmer Stars. I thought it was a little on the nose at times. There's dialogue where he says stuff like, well, something, I think they're talking about David Duke, and he says something like, well, what if someday a guy like David Duke is president?
Oh yeah.
That line is in, I don't know if you needed to actually say that.
That also is kind of Spike Lee's style, though. Like he's never been subtle about his opinions, and he always kind of throws that. Especially the whole ending of the movie. It was as Spike Lee as a movie gets, with all the montage of current times and everything. And he even did the whole Inside Man scene where he's with the camera again, and so it was super Spike Lee at the end. Honestly, I didn't know Spike Lee directed it, but then when I got to that ending, I was like, yeah, but Spike Lee definitely directed this movie.
Oh yeah.
One thing I got across the movie is that the Klansmen are just the stupidest people in the world.
Yeah, yeah, just
Right.
idiots, like complete idiots.
They didn't realize that it was a guy on the phone who they're meeting with. This guy who is played by Denzel Washington's son. It sounds exactly like Denzel Washington. They didn't realize that he was black. I mean, I don't know how
Yeah,
dumb they are. But yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good, but I didn't think. I mean, Spike Lee's directed about 5 movies that I think are just absolutely great. Like I love Do the Right Thing. I love Malcolm X. 25th Hour is an amazing film, and
Inside Man.
and Inside Man too. And I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, that's he's done some, and he made some very bad movies as well. Like
Yes.
She Hate Me was just like, it's one of those things where it's like, here I have 4 different ideas for a movie, and they have nothing to do with each other, but I'm just gonna jam them on, and and the worst one of all is the one where he's like, well, he's gonna be the runner for all the lesbians, and they're gonna have sex with him. And that's, I don't know what he was thinking with that one, but he but it's good to see him finally get an award. He actually already got an honorary Oscar, but I guess I think this is the first time in like 50 years that someone's like been nominated for an actual Oscar for the first time
after getting an honorary.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
They thought he was done. That's why they thought he was done. He said, "I still got some more."
Oh, it's over for that guy.
Yeah,
he's not that old. He's probably in his late 50s, right?
Spike,
probably older than that.
Yeah,
maybe older than that. I mean, he was real young when he started, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably mid-50s, early 60s at most.
Yeah. So, and another thing in that movie was just like when I don't know if I bought that the girl would still date him after finding out that he was an undercover cop, and the scene at the end where they entrap the guy, they entrap the cop while recording him. That just felt false. That scene.
It was hilarious. Yeah,
it was funny, but it wasn't.
He definitely took some liberties.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of that. Yeah, he changed the story.
I mean, for me, the thing I liked about it most is probably that it didn't take it so seriously. Like it wasn't just a super serious drama the whole way through. Like it would have been too much. There was a lot of humor in there, and it felt more real because of that. Because I don't think people are so serious all the time, like that. So it was good.
Yeah,
it was his best. It was a huge comeback for him. Especially after like Chirac and stuff like that. So
Chirac was.
I kind of like Chirac. I mean, it was.
There's a lot of issues with that one.
Kind of ridiculous, but I thought Samuel Jackson, that was wonderful. Him doing the verse and doing the I don't know.
Samuel.
I haven't seen that in
pieces.
I think just the overall theme and the way he tried to present there's a lot of issues there. That caused a lot of backlash for him. I'd say that.
And I mean, I like Roma a lot, and I like Starsborn a lot. Like, I'm interested to know, like, have you guys seen Roma?
No.
I
keep hearing about it over and over again, but I've not watched it.
It's the Netflix Mexico film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I can completely understand why people are reluctant to watch that because it's a 2.5-hour movie. It's in black and white. It's not in English, and there's no
stars. It looks
stars.
like an indie art film, so it's kind of like
and that's what
do I really want to sit down right now and watch this, or do I want to watch Aquaman or something?
Yeah, no, like you have to be really alert. Like you have to be paying attention the whole time to movies like that. Like you got to be watching all these subtleties and like, ooh, did you see the wind blow that like leaf down the hall? Like, like shit like that. So like it's hard to, you got to find time to dedicate to a movie like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know Netflix is really secretive about they'll put out a number once in a while where like Bird Box was really. They put out a number of, this is how many people watch Bird Box, but they're never transparent about everything. So I'd be interested to know like how many people are watching Roma because I'm sure it got a spike when the Oscars were announced, but
I have, like I said, I have heard a lot about it. A lot of people have been talking about it.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot too.
It's just like Dory said, it's just one of those movies you kind of have to make time for. It's not when you just throw on, nonchalantly and like. Kind of half watch it. So those are the movies always take me a little longer to get around to.
Right. And then Vice was, I thought, very flawed. And it's one of those movies where I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but then I started to think about, that's kind of, there are a lot of filmmaking choices here that I didn't like very much. Like it just, if you saw The Big Short, which is the same director, which was really a really good movie, kind of it got a little bit silly. Like it felt like it had to get a little bit silly because it was telling a story about, the financial crisis and all these like complex things. And
I mean, his biggest
hard
accomplishment was
focus on
making that an interesting movie. You
Yeah.
know,
I didn't feel like Vice did that, but it has it even more so. Like it has all these weird, like it has a weird narration. It has all these like,
wow.
I don't know. I mean, I lived through that whole period, and I'm kind of a politics buff anyway, so I really liked. I was entertained by all the stuff with that. Although Steve Carell as Donald Rumsfeld, he looked just like him, but he just forgot to do the voice. He sounded exactly like Steve Carell.
Oh,
He didn't even make it like. I thought everyone else was. I believe Bale as Dick Cheney. I believed Amy Adams as Lynn Cheney, and Sam Rockwell.
They all had like a transformation. They were all like everybody looked like the.
I remember. I mean, the trailer when I saw it, I was like, "Is that who's playing Dick Cheney?" Like, I couldn't really tell at first. Like, he looked so. You can't even really tell it's Christian Bale, like in the trailer, that's Dick Cheney, and that's fucking crazy.
Well, the Academy loves to honor people who like gain and lose weight for roles. That's part of Viggo Mortensen's. In Green Book, there is a scene where you see Viggo Mortensen. He's sitting on the bed in a hotel, and he's on the phone. And he hangs up the phone, and you see him pick up an entire pizza, not like a slice, a whole pizza, fold it in half, and then eat it. It was supposed to be funny because he's Italian. I don't know. It was just,
how Italian can you get?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm like, I guess I'm rooting for either Bohemian Rhapsody or Roma to win. I'd be fine if it was Black Panther. I'd be fine if it was Black Klansman. I would be very not happy if it was Green Book, and Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't think we have to worry about it after the story today. So.
All right, so I mean, let's just hop right into this last part and kind of give our predictions for some of the major categories, some that we do every year, and see. Then we come back around after the show and see who got the most right.
Sure.
So we just start. I'll just start off right now. Best Picture. The the nominees are Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, Favorite, which I don't think we haven't really talked about yet, Green Book, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna go Star Is Born. I feel like that's the that was kind of the favorite heading into Oscar season, and it's receded a little bit because it didn't get as many nominations as some people thought. But I do think it's the kind of movie that wins Best Picture. So I feel like it's gonna be that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's my top. Like, I have A Star Is Born or The Favorite, but I feel like A Star Is Born has a lot more traction right now. Like, it's what people are talking about. Like you said, and just because Lady Gaga, I think just based on what I've seen of her performance, she's like A-level actress now, So I don't know. This is like a really big movie. I think A Star Is Born has to win Best Picture. It's just weird that Bradley didn't get director. That's what throws me off. It's because how can you win Best Picture without the director getting nominated?
It's happened a couple times. I think Argo won Best Picture and Affleck wasn't nominated. So it's happened a couple times.
That's gross though. That's a bad example. He should not have won that. Oh, he was nominated though. He didn't win. Oh yeah.
No, Argo won.
Right.
Oh, he did win. Oh, they did. Argo won. Gross. That's gross. Well, I'm gonna have to go with The Star Is Born as well though.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one I want to win is Black Panther.
Yeah.
Because rejoice, nerds, guys and girls, we've made it. We have made the mountaintop. We finally got nominated.
Wasn't enough to just like be at the center of all movies for 10 years. It's you gotta have the Oscars.
Yeah. We finally broke through. We finally
did. It's the first superhero movie to ever do it like that. That's crazy. Like, why didn't Logan get picked up last year? I would have liked to see that.
No, the one that out of every comic movie that should have won, The Dark Knight that year should have won Best Picture.
Yeah.
That was when there were still 5, and that's part of why they had more.
They increased it to 8. Yeah, but that year was insane. That was the year it should have won. Right. But I'll take Black Panther as a nomination, and that's the movie I want to win because finally we are here. We've arrived, but I highly doubt that it will get this Best Picture. And A Star is Born, yeah, I can see it winning, but I can't, vote with you guys again. So I'm gonna go Black Horse. So I'm gonna say Roma.
Oh, you're gonna say Roma? Nice, interesting. The only reason I don't see that winning is because it's a Netflix, and I think that's the first time they've nominated them as well. So it's like another first. It'd be like, it's like Black Panther.
Yeah, the industry's afraid of Netflix, I guess, because they're encroaching on. They did this whole thing where they released it in theaters and on Netflix, and.
Well, because that movie we started talking about, the art horror film, is a Netflix movie, right?
They might as well just it's gonna happen eventually, and why not now? They're here, they're not going anywhere, and they just keep putting out more original movies that are going to.
But that would be a big move. If an online streaming service won Best Picture, that would be a shake of the industry. That would be officially.
I mean, kind of is official already. I think more people watch Netflix original movies.
I know, but I feel like it's just for the nod. I don't feel like it's for the stamp of.
It has to happen at some point, and I'm saying it's happening this year.
Well, let me tell you this: it's very important to Netflix to win an Oscar. I think Apple, when they start doing this, it's going to be important for them too, because when the studios put out their lists of like their for your consideration movies, like they kind of list what they're pushing that year. Netflix always has like 15 or 20 movies on their list, including like a bunch of documentaries and a bunch of feature films. And Warner Brothers has like 4, and Disney has like 5, Paramount has like 2. So they're just not trying to win. I mean, they're trying. Like, usually one of those studios will have like one big movie that they're using for the Oscars, but like, and Amazon usually has like 7 or 8. So
yeah,
it's gonna happen sooner or later. Netflix is too big right now, so I'm gonna say Roma. It's dark horse. Actor in a leading role, we have Christian Bale in Vice, Bradley Cooper as Star is Born, Willem Dafoe at Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen in Green Book.
Weird category.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Rami Malek just because he's got so much buzz going into it. And people keep talking about his performance, so I'm gonna say Remy.
I'll say Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I was gonna see. That's crazy because I want Dario's choice, Rami, to win, but I think Christian Bale will win because of that like transformative Academy loves about actors changing their physical
appearance. They also love actors who play like famous musicians and do it well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but there's so much controversy. I don't know. That's tough for me. It's just the movie has too much controversy for me.
Well, we'll see what people do. I mean, keep in mind that there's going to be like other campaigns and negative campaigns. There's probably stuff out there that we haven't even heard about yet, where there's some reason stars we haven't even heard about yet. There's a good chance that we're Roma or one of the other. So
yeah, that would be the worst. What if something comes out? What if they're waiting they're holding all the tea before
it's like politics, and this was something that, in addition to the other horrible stuff Harvey Weinstein did, this was the world Harvey Weinstein gave us. He kind of invented that thing of having the Oscars be like political campaigns.
That's true. He championed the campaigning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of campaigning going on right now, too. Like, it's crazy. I don't know if I've actually seen this much, like, movie campaigning from different people before. Like, it feels weird for the Oscars. Like, for all the award seasons, I don't know. There's a lot of extra content floating around.
Well, there was one day when like 3 bad things came out about Green Book. Like, one was they found an old interview with the director where he like admitted that he exposed himself to women, and there was another thing where they found an old tweet where like the screenwriter agreed with Trump about something racist, and I don't remember what the other one was, but like this all came out in one day, so there was some speculation that like this was some type of smear campaign against
sure,
one of the other ones, but I don't know. It apparently didn't work because
I didn't even know about it.
I don't know what else. On top of everything with Shirley's family and with just like And the other thing about Green Book is it didn't really do well at the box office. Not that many people saw it, whereas Bohemian Rhapsody was.
Right.
Yeah, which is why I'm really surprised.
Fan of all the nominees, but I think Bohemian Rhapsody was probably not far behind it. Star Wars Born was as well.
Mm.
Okay, so actress in a leading role, we have Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Glenn Close for The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga for Star is Born, and Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me?
First of all, Can You Ever Forgive Me is a wonderful film, and I was kind of sad that it didn't get much. I think it got supporting actor and maybe writing as well, but that was a really good movie that didn't get quite enough attention this year.
It was her first turn as like a more serious role, yeah.
Yeah, and some of her comedies have been. She was in that Happy Time Murders movie, which was just horrendous.
Yeah, not good.
It was bad too, but she was really good in that. And I think Lady Gaga's going to win. That's my pick. And
that was my pick as well.
I know Glenn Close won one of the Golden Globes. I think Olivia Colman won the other.
I'm gonna pick Glenn Close just to go against both of you guys, because I think she'll be a strong second. Because if Lady Gaga doesn't win, it has to be Glenn Close.
I mean, I haven't seen Roma, so I don't know how her acting is in that movie, but
she's, I think, a first-time actress, and she's it's entirely in. I don't know what the language is. It's an indigenous language in Mexico that she speaks in that, which I guess the first.
Yeah, I heard Roma's a bunch of like non-actors or like fresh, like yeah. I just didn't see the Academy. I think actors would get mad if non-actors and like fresh year one actors just got the best role, unless it was like unanimous. Like it was just obvious.
I think Glenn Close has never won an Oscar. Is that correct? She's been nominated numerous times, like back in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely my second choice.
Because Meryl Streep always steals her shine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny that Glenn Close and Michael Douglas both won Golden Globes the same night when they were, Fatal Attraction together 30 years ago.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And I liked The Wife, and I liked her in it. I feel like that was a movie that didn't really have much of a shelf life, and I don't know how many people saw it, but I thought she was fine in that. I wouldn't object if she won.
So actor in a supporting role, Mahershala Ali, Green Book, Adam Driver, Black Klansman, Sam Elliott, A Star is Born, Richard E. Grant, Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Sam Rockwell for Vice. My pick would be Adam Driver.
Mahershala.
I'm going for Adam Driver.
Mahershala. I'd probably be okay with any of those, but I'm going to pick Sam Elliott.
Okay.
Just said, they like to honor the guy who's had a really long, distinguished career. This is his first nomination, so I think I have a good feeling about him, and I think he didn't get a Golden Globe nomination at all. But
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Adam Driver.
I feel like that was Adam Driver's best performance. I mean, he was fine in it, but I didn't think he was. I was more impressed with the writing of that character than I was of his performance of it.
Yeah, I think he was strongly written for sure.
Yeah, I don't think his character had enough like emotional range for him to like win a category.
We'll see. Actress in a supporting role, Amy Adams for Vice, Marina de Tavira for Roma, Regina King, If Beale Street Could Talk, Emma Stone, The Favorite, and Rachel Weisz for The Favorite. I mean, you have two picks from The Favorite both in there, so it's kind of hard to be like, not one of them is going to win.
That is crazy. But which one? I would say Emma Stone. Based on the trailer, it looked like Emma Stone was doing more of the work. She looks like The Favorite, so
it would have to be The Favorite, Stephen?
Well, here's what's funny about that, The Favorite. So it's neither of you saw it, right?
No.
So Olivia Colman plays the Queen, and Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone played the two kind of assistants who are kind of vying for her attention, who would be the favorite. And Olivia Colman was nominated for actress, even though she's in the movie less than the other two. But I think it was just in everyone's heads that Queen, she gets to be the lead actress. So, and they were all very good in it. I thought the movie was good, not great. I loved it visually and I liked the performances, but I didn't think it really led anywhere. Is my opinion. And they're both fine. But I thought Rachel Weisz was better in the other movie this year, Disobedience, the one where she and Rachel McAdams are Orthodox.
Yeah.
I thought she was better than that. And also Amy Adams, I was more impressed with her in Sharp Objects, the HBO show, which I thought was like maybe the best performance I've ever seen her give. And that was I don't know if you watched that show, it was a crazy show. But I'm gonna say Regina King.
That's who I was going to say.
She is and that movie is so great. I don't know why I think of Best Picture, but yeah, if she gets
crazy.
Yeah.
I totally thought about that too, but like it's just so weird that once again the movie isn't getting any love. Like I don't know. And then I feel like this is kind of them trying to make up for not giving Regina King some looks before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that she has finally kind of been recognized for her acting, and I think this is maybe the time she gets it. I selfishly want her to get it, so that's what I'm going to say.
Both of you guys said Regina. I'll pick Amy Adams then. I'm gonna go with Amy.
She was fine in that, but I don't know. I mean, it was. I believe.
I don't know, man.
I'm not going to call
transformation.
I feel like there's too many big name. I feel like there's too many big name stars in that movie.
Yeah.
That could hurt her. But we'll see. Animated feature film: Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs. Let me see if I can say this. Mamoru Hosoda and Yuichiro Saito. I think I said that right. No, those are the actors. It's called Mirai. That's what it is. Mirai. Ralph Breaks the Internet, so Wreck-It Ralph 2, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Now, I didn't love Isle of Dogs that much. I love Wes Anderson. It wasn't.
But they love Wes Anderson.
It looks so bleak.
I think he won an Oscar for writing something. I don't remember which one, but I'd kind of like to see him win, but I think it's going to be Spider-Man. Because the other ones don't really feel like best animated feature type movies. I mean, neither of those. I like Ralph Breaks the Internet a lot, but it doesn't feel like a best animated kind of movie.
Great movie.
I mean, it's usually either Disney or Pixar. They usually win this, but I'm gonna go Spider-Man.
A superhero movie. This is like kind of my hang-up with Incredibles 2 and Spider-Man. That they are still superhero movies, and to win, because I did love Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Isle of Dogs just seems like the type of Oscars movie that that they would kind of choose.
I don't know. It seems too bleak as an animation because they spend most of the time on an island that's desolate, so there's not much to animate. It seems like.
I'm going to say Isle of Dogs because I think it is a Oscars type of movie that they're going to pick, so I'm going to say that.
All right. I'm picking Spider-Man because when I'm out here in New York, I see that poster everywhere. Everyone around me seen it. I haven't seen it yet, so I need to see it ASAP. But
one thing I loved about that movie is like it shows New York, and it's sort of the present day, and it's sort of like 1990. Like,
oh really?
It's set in the present day. I mean, everyone has cell phones. It's obviously the present day, but like
right.
The subway's all graffiti, and there's certain cultural and fashion things that make it look like it's back then.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I don't know how much of a conscious choice that was, but I thought it was.
I mean, from the trailers, honestly, it's like the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2.
I love Spider-Man 2, so that's a lot of people call it the best ever. I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
I wasn't a big fan.
Well, I think it's the best Spider-Man. Well, it's the best probably Sony work since Spider-Man 2.
There's only been one other non-Sony work, and that's Homecoming, and I didn't love Homecoming.
I mean, it was better than the two Andrew Garfield ones, and I thought Homecoming was fine, but this is definitely better than Homecoming.
It was just an average Marvel movie.
The new one was inventive, and it's going to be hard for the one this year to follow it 6 months from now. And
yeah, almost too much Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So cinematography, we have Cold War, The Favorite, Never Look Away, Roma, and A Star Is Born. For me, I think it's gonna be Roma.
Oh, for cinematography. Flipping through my pages. Ooh. I'm gonna go with Never Look Away.
I have actually not seen Never Look Away. It's one of the only movies nominated that I didn't see. It is they announced the Oscars at 8 o'clock in the morning, and did the calendar. There was a 10 a.m. screening that day of Never Look Away that I guess I could have rushed to if I wanted to see it, but I didn't feel like doing that because I had stuff to do. So I'm gonna say Roma. I think maybe if they don't feel like giving Best Picture to Quaron, they'll give him cinematography and maybe Ford as well, because he was the cinematographer and the editor, and he did everything else too. So I think I think Roma's probably gonna be winning for that.
So
although the favorite had really good cinematography.
So for directing, we have Black Klansman, Cold War, The Favorite, Roma, and Vice.
Very weird choices for this category. Like,
yes.
Not Cooper, not I don't know why Adam McKay was nominated, because the direction of Vice was far from the best thing about it, and Cold War was kind of a surprise too. Although I like Cold War a lot. I'm gonna go with Quaron. Roma.
You said you're going with which one?
Roma.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry.
That's my choice too, actually, out of these. I can see the Cold War winning.
I'm going to say Spike Lee finally gets his long overdue directing Oscars.
I just wanted to give him a big shout out for getting in. Like, that's lit.
If he wins, now, then win.
If he wins, though, I'm going to have to find the party, because he's going to be out here in Brooklyn partying for sure.
Hey,
I think we're probably gonna have a split of picture and director. I think that'll be two different movies, whatever it ends up being.
I think he has to get one of those. And for me, since I already picked Roma, I gotta say Spike gets director.
Okay.
Best documentary, we have Free Solo, Hale County This Morning, This Evening, Minding the Gap of Fathers and Son, and RGB. For me, it's gonna be RGB. It's the one I hear about.
I talked before about this category and my feelings on it, but yeah, I think RBG is going to win. I think they're going to.
Yeah, we're pretty
especially being sick, and they all love her, I'm sure. So I imagine. I figured before the Oscars, I thought that the only two that had any chance to win were this and Mr. Rogers, and because that was nominated, I think it's going to be RBG.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with RBG because, like, I mean, Minding the Gap, although it is excellent, like in terms of like the time span and everything. But like RBG's time span's even longer, and it's political, and it's so relevant to now, and it's like you got to give them their props.
Yeah, they also showed it on CNN a bunch of times, so I'm sure a lot of people saw it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these I can't imagine. I mean, Free Solo I think was a pretty mid-sized hit for a documentary, which is
That's a weird spot. I could put a few different documentaries in Free Solo spot, honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to be RBG.
Okay, so we're going to get into some of the more technical. I'm going to hit a few of the technical categories. We're going to go with music, Let's say original. Yeah, music original score. Black Panther, Black Klansman, If Beale Street Could Talk, Isle of Dogs, and Mary Poppins Returns.
This one I thought First Man, which I don't think got nominated for anything. It might have gotten like one technical thing. I thought the score of whatever you thought the score of that I thought was really, really good. So I was sad to see that not get in. I think I want to see if Beale Street Could Talk win because it had a really good score, and these other movies I'm not really thinking about the scores other than Mary Poppins, which had all these original songs.
Mine was going to say Mary Poppins Returns just because it's Mary Poppins and Disney, and kind of the only real musical I think that's getting any love. So that would be my choice.
I thought it was weird that Lin-Manuel Miranda was in the movie, but they didn't have him write any songs. I guess he either was busy or they maybe asked him. I don't know, but he, had like the best musical theater score.
Yeah, he's like the biggest name in musical, and right now, and you don't ask this man to write some songs.
He was nominated for those.
He probably wanted to get paid, and Disney doesn't like to pay people that much. So,
right. I like Mary Poppins as well for that. Just because, like you said, it's got the most music in it probably. Like there's
like Black Panther, like the original score. Like I remember the soundtrack, but I don't really remember the original score.
I was trying to think about what was playing in the background of things. I don't remember the score, so
I'll say Black Panther. I think maybe this is the one that they'll give it to.
There we go. Uh-huh.
So the music, the original song, and it's All the Stars from Black Panther, I'll Fight from RBG, The Place Where Lost Things Go from Mary Poppins Returns, Shallow from A Star Is Born, and When the Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings from The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Shallow, A Star Is Born.
Shallow for me.
Yeah,
I don't see how any other song wins. Even though All the Stars, I think, was a phenomenal single for a movie.
Yeah.
Shallow is basically tearing up everything right now.
For real. No, yeah, like people I work with were excited about it. Like they actually made excited sounds. Like, oh my God, this Lady Gaga. I was like, what? So
yeah, I don't see how it cannot win that category, considering it's literally all about music.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, we'll go to visual effects. We have Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One, and Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Weird nominations of movies that weren't really nominated for anything else.
Kind of all over the place.
I thought Solo was notable for how not impressive its visual effects were. Ready Player One, the visual effects were pretty much the only thing I liked about it because I hated that movie. I think First Man. I think maybe they'll give it that.
Yeah.
Christopher Robin, I didn't see. I don't know how that got in.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. So
there was another Christopher Robin. Well, let's see. There was the Christopher Robin movie like a year before, which was about the son of the guy who created Winnie the Pooh and how his father ruined his life by like creating Winnie the Pooh. This, I guess, was about Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
First one was so bad I never saw the second one.
They're made by different companies, aren't they? Are they?
I'm not. This one was Disney. I don't know what the other one was. So, because they had to get something out of the intellectual property. Because I think the last Winnie the Pooh movie was I don't know how many years ago.
First Man, that's a solid choice.
Yeah.
I like Avengers because there's so much going on and it's still, I think, really good for how much was on screen. But I'll say First Man. I know that they're still reluctant to give genre movies, a lot of wins. So,
well, I'm gonna pick the Avengers then.
Now what's next?
Let's see here. The last two categories we'll talk about is writing. So writing for adapted screenplay is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, Can You Ever Forgive Me, If Beale Street Could Talk, and A Star Is Born.
I think it'll be A Star Is Born. Because, it's, you're adapting something that's literally already been made 4 other times, but they made it good enough that I think they overcame any challenges that would have come from that. So I think it's A Star Is Born. I'm not exactly sure what why Scruggs is adapted.
I didn't even know it was adapted. I thought it was.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Original.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, really? But I don't know because I didn't really know. I think I'm gonna pick something else. Beale Street though is a good choice. I think maybe, but I didn't pick Spike Lee yet, so I kind of have to go with Black Klansman just to like show my support. I rock with you, Spike. So you got to get the writing.
Yeah, you didn't get him in the category that matters.
That movie is 5 credits. It's Spike Lee and 4 other people. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was some kind of complicated Writers Guild arbitration. That's usually what the case is, where 2 of them worked on it for a couple years, then 2 other writers came in and they used some of it, and then I guess Spike. I'm just making this up. I don't know if that's what really happened, but that's usually when there's 5 writers credited. That's usually
they could have paraphrased what Spike Lee said for him, and then because they wrote it down, and then I don't know.
I mean, if I would love it to see Beale Street win that would be, because it was just it's Jenkins adapting this famous book and from quite a long time ago, and making it work. And there are a couple scenes where he changed things. Like I wrote a piece about one scene in this movie, so I went back and read the book and I looked at what the differences were, and I thought it was that can be hard when it's a legendary writer, but I felt like he did it right. So.
Okay.
Yeah, my pick was going to be Beale Street.
Oh, okay.
The last one is original screenplay. We have The Favorite, First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, and Vice.
So this is actually, I think, Paul Schrader's first ever nomination. He's been at it since the 70s, so that was good for him, I suppose. I guess he wasn't nominated for Taxi Driver somehow. But anyway,
Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I think I read this. But anyway, that's an outstanding movie. I'm not surprised it didn't get more nominations. Although Ethan Hawke was so great in that I'm kind of that's one of the worst snubs that Ethan Hawke didn't get nominated for acting when Viggo Mortensen did. But I think this is going to be one of the favorite ones. Though.
You say who?
I think they're going to feel like giving The Favorite. I think they're going to feel like they have to give. This is going to be
interesting.
I don't think we talked about costume design, but that's the costumes in that are really something else. Green Book, I will be upset if it wins screenplay.
My pick was going to be Paul Schrader, because after so many movies, after so many years getting snubbed, they always seem to kind of try to make things right and like give an award for even maybe like not their best project, but like finally you deserve this, like here's your win. So I think this might be the year they finally just give him his win.
Well, as a sector, I don't know if Vice's screenplay deserves the nomination, but I mean, this is the one where Sorry to Bother You definitely deserved a nomination.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I agree.
That screenplay was just like, I mean, for Butch Riley, who is a rapper, who I knew him as a rapper, and he was 47 years old when he made this movie. He'd never made a movie before, and he just emerges with his first movie with something that audacious and that incendiary and over the top.
It was definitely out there.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not that surprised that the Academy wasn't so into that. I mean, it's basically the politics of that movie are so radical that even the notorious liberal Academy probably gave them pause.
Yeah, when they took the turn at the end, it kind of definitely went full on to the deep end of that one.
I keep seeing stuff out of Silicon Valley that really reminds me of Armie Hammer's character. Like I read that the company WeWork, which has the co-working spaces, they're like branch out into like housing and various other things. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds exactly like that movie. Sure, they're working on the horse stuff too.
Yeah. So we're doing the what were the nominees again? I don't think I wrote down all. It
was original screenplay. You haven't given us your answer yet. Favorites: First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, and Vice.
Vice or favorite? Did I give favorite any love yet? I don't know if I gave them anything. I'll vote for favorite.
All right. So that is it for our Oscars predictions. We'll be back. I think it's in exactly a month, basically. It's going to air, and obviously we're going to talk about it, see who had the most picks correct. See if I get another win under my belt, DeReese.
I was definitely losing this year.
Definitely have a lot of those. Yeah, so let us know what you guys think about, a lot of the Oscar nominations, what you want to win. What do you think got snubbed? Anything that got left out that people should check out? We want to know what you guys think about it. So let us know in the comments down below wherever this goes up on YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever, our website, wherever. But before we get out of here, I want to thank Steven Silver again for joining us and talking movies and giving his insight about film, because definitely know a lot about it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
And again,
it's great talking to you.
If you want to plug, where people can find you, where you're out here again.
Twitter, Steven Silver, just SDPHEN Silver, SLVER. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, so just put my name in there, or stick my name into Google News or whatever, and you'll find articles of mine.
All right, and you can also find them on our website. And
absolutely, yes.
You got a lot of articles, and a lot of them will be at the top of whatever's trending. So you can definitely see some of the stuff that he's written there. If you can see in the video, DeReese's beanie. We have new beanies on the way. He's wearing it right now. So we have a lot of new stuff coming. We'll keep you guys informed. So definitely check out in the next couple of days, a week or so. And until then, we'll be back shortly with another Fearless Show podcast. And other than that, we'll keep living life fearless. We'll catch you guys soon.
All right.
Peace.
Keep living life fearless, y'all.